Welcome to ThePodCaster, the home of Farcaster builders. Hello, everyone. We are now recording the sixth episode of ThePodCaster. First of all, thank you so much, Biji, for joining us. I really appreciate your time. And yeah, maybe we can start with a quick introduction of what's Herocast.
Sure. Most people know Herocast as the all-in-one solution for pros and teams to grow on Farcaster. However, I think it's important to say that our bigger mission is just to decentralize power on the internet faster. So that's a bit of a bigger mission that we're on. And that's also the reason why we're open source. So you might see that we're the only the biggest open source client out there. And I mean, that's the key goal, because we have others that can build on top, and that's why it's open source. And yeah, we can also share more about that later, but that's essentially it.
Great. And I wonder, when you decided to build Herocast, like what sort of like issue were you trying to solve? Like what do you consider to be the problem that you're trying to tackle?
Sure. So in that sense, we have like a big mission problem that we're solving that is just that we're supporting with the open source code. At the same time, like the core problem that we're solving for our immediate users is, if you are a social media manager, it's usually like the users that we work with, they're like from bigger brands like Gnosis or Optimism. Their day looks like this, that they don't spend all of the time on Farcaster. So it's actually fragmented across many platforms. They're social media managers, they have to take care of growth. So what we're helping them with is actually to spend less time on Farcaster and get more stuff done on Farcaster. And that's why we're building this all-in-one growth solution, where you don't have to go to Supercast to schedule, you don't have to go to Buoy to get your notifications, you don't have to go to Feeds to get your setup of feeds. You can go to one solution to get all of what you need to get your stuff done, and then check out and maybe do whatever you have to do on X and all of the other platforms.
And like, would you mind like explaining like a deep dive into what's Herocast? Like, what does Herocast look like today?
Sure. Feature overview is you have a setup of feeds, and you can set these feeds up. And feeds can be Farcaster feeds, they can be channel feeds, or they can be search feeds. So when you, for example, looking for a certain keyword and want to be updated on that, you type in that keyword in your search and you save it to your feeds. And then, for example, I always have a Herocast search feed open because I want to know if someone mentions that, or I even have a search for multiple accounts or multiple account, because that's one of the issues that we also solve for teams. And if someone's talking about it, I get a notification. When you are in that setup process, you can also get email notifications sent for this keyword. And then if we go further, so in my mind, I'm now going through the interface that we got. And so the next issue that we're solving, of course, is scheduling. So if you're doing your content plan, you can put your entire content plan into the tool. And then we have an analytics page as well. So with these analytics, I think the most powerful tool is that you know what your top casts are of a given period. And you can also, and that's proven to be like super powerful, you can check out anybody else's stats. So with that, you can do a lot of benchmarking. I spend a lot of time just learning from others how they do their growth and creating some content around that. Like we for example, learned with that challenges and quests have been super powerful for some of the bigger brands. And that type of analysis is something that's super helpful for you when you're a social media manager, because you just know what's working, what's not working. And that's, so far, I think that's the solution in a nutshell so far.
Cool. And like, do you think that brands will end up being like the biggest customer of Herocast? Like are most users brands?
Yeah. I think in the short term, that's exactly that. And where we're going in the long term is really building this mothership for other clients. So if someone wants to fork it and build on top of that, many of the features are already built. And so this is like in the midterm future where we're headed to. And then is it going to be brands? It's more going to be the dev teams.
I see. Like, do you think that is it mainly gonna be like the dev teams because of the analytics, or is it more like which sort of like feature do you think that will onboard them?
Well, in theory, you can take Herocast and just run your own client. So any part of that. So let's say you want to build a doctor's network. Maybe that's a bit further down that. But I mean, that's the cool thing about Farcaster, right? At some point, you're going to have if everything works out, you don't have the cold start problem anymore. You can just work with the users that are already there. So maybe some of the social media ideas that have not been working at all so far because the cold start problem is too big, or it doesn't make sense to build a community only for dog owners or only for doctors, etc., is now suddenly possible. So then the question is, where do you go? Which tech stack do you use to build this new type of interface, this new client for your user group? And what we are providing is just the full stack. If you want to take some sort of the feeds, you can do that. If you need some analytics, you can do that as well. We hope that the entire suite is going to be there, that you as a developer can then take it, fork it, and build something cool with it. It's just for us, because we're super early, we were also looking for use case with which we can generate revenue early on and also improve the product with daily feedback cycles, which is why, of course, we went to social media managers, because they're professionals and they're already on the platform and need to get a lot out of it.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And it really resonates with something that Dan Romero said some time ago, and he keeps saying it publicly, which is like, it's very difficult to build a client that directly competes with WordPress in terms of like, if it's like very similar to WordPress, you have a hard time onboarding users. But if you make something completely orthogonal, and I think that he even like explicitly mentioned Herocast and a bunch of other clients, like your chances of actually onboarding people are much higher. And I guess that like going for like a cozy corner, which in this case are just like devs or brands, I think it's like a smart decision.
Yeah, it's kind of cozy, but not 100% cozy. I mean, it's still, they demand a lot, because in their life, like every minute they invest is it's the job. They're getting paid for it, and every minute that they waste is valuable to them. So maybe it sounds cozy from the outside, but the demand's actually quite high.
Yeah. I can imagine. And like, have we like, I don't know if you can disclose this, but like, have we already seen clients that have been bootstrapped via Herocast?
We got one so far, so Noun Space. They forked at the beginning. At the same time, yeah, I think it's a bit too early. So Noun Space, they did it. At the same time, I feel for bigger ideas to Farcaster has to grow in general.
Yeah.
For more clients to really use it.
Yeah. And I think that leads me into another question, which is sort of like, what's your thesis behind Farcaster? What made you like what makes you bullish about Farcaster?
Totally. So I'm in crypto since 2017, and my first venture was sentiment analysis for cryptocurrencies. And what we did there was taking Twitter data, and also from some other platforms, and crunching that data into a sentiment, like a Bitcoin, a bull and bear trend. And so we were 100% dependent on data from Twitter, which was a nightmare. Getting this data, normalizing it, and just making sure that it's kind of stable in a database was absolutely horrible. And just a huge tech risk, business risk and tech risk. And so I'm super bullish on the idea that we decentralize power on the internet by just having our relationships on chain in a way so that actually they're also open source. It's not only that users own them, but users maybe own some other parts of it. But they're open source and can be used by anyone, so that hopefully in the end it's just more useful to the end user, because they have the bargaining power. If I want to go to another platform, I can do it as a user, and as a builder, I don't have to be afraid that they're just going to kick us out anytime.
Yeah. So I wonder, how difficult is it to bootstrap a client from scratch, and sort of like how much easier is it to build a client using Herocast?
Yeah. So I can't go into details like how difficult it is to build all the features. At the same time, so if you use Herocast, you can just copy paste it, fork it, and you have a really good basis to start with. So if you're out there and building, please check out our GitHub and fork it. Build something cool with it.
Very cool. And I wonder, it's something that I think you mentioned earlier, but maybe I just want to make sure that if I understood it correctly, like, are you grabbing like the coolest features out there from like every client and trying to build like a client that has all those features embedded into it? So like, if Supercast launched like scheduled cast, you will integrate it. If Wildcard launched like a very cool, I don't know, like a tipping mechanism, whatever, you will try. Well, that's like maybe very specific, but like what I mean is, are you trying to like aggregate all the best features out there from all our clients?
That's a really cool idea and good question. We can't do it though, because it's not practical for getting traction. Because we are always focused on pro users and teams. So we have our community of co-creators, of like pro users and brands, and we only iterate with that feedback. And if they say they want something, so scheduling was like number one priority for everyone, was like a no-brainer. Of course, Supercast has it as well. At the same time, it doesn't really matter to us what others are implementing. I know that there's a lot of stuff happening around Moxie at the moment. We might also be doing something with that. However, if our community is not asking for it, we're not going to build it. At the same time, there are definitely other, especially creator, like art focused clients out there. I feel they are way different from us because our core users are pros and teams. So we're probably not going to integrate features from them.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I wonder, like, what sort of like challenges have you faced in this journey of building Herocast?
So it's interesting because still we are dependent on the Farcaster team, the Miracle team, and super dependent on Warpcast, what Warpcast is doing and which features going to come to the protocol level. DMs. I mean, we need DMs. We can't implement them though because the boss team hasn't decided that yet. And so there we're super dependent on the just on the team, on the Farcast or Warpcast team. At the same time, I feel we are all strategically super aligned. They know that if they want their vision to succeed, they need to build the protocol in a way so that we can build cool stuff. So I think it's just that we sometimes have to be patient and wait.
So I wonder, Biji, like, what sort of features are brands on Farcaster mostly interested in? Brands and in general, like dev teams.
Yeah. So in general, I think it's important for us as product people to know that they're not asking for features. They want to have a problem solved. And I feel on social media, it's always the same thing where they want to save time. They want to know who are the right people to engage with. How do I find them? Is this person that I'm engaging with, is that person relevant to me, to my business, to the event that I'm trying to host or market? And then also, what is it that I should be communicating with? So what type of content is important? What type of message should go out there? So all of the features usually fit into these buckets. Saving time, making something easier, who do I engage with, and what is the message? So all of our features fit into that bucket. And so sometimes, when it comes to on-chain features, so we have a long list. For example, seeing a person's wallet, knowing did that person do a donation before? We're collaborating with Glow Dollar. There, for example, of course, for them, it's important to know, does that person hold USDC? If that person holds USDC, that person is a lead for them to potentially transfer this USDC into this other stablecoin that they're trying to market. And so this is how we prioritize features into those buckets.
So that's super cool. So you're actually sort of like linking on-chain data to the Farcaster profile of the user, right?
Exactly. So we already have that. On Herocast, if you click on a user or on a cast, you see that person's profile and on-chain profile. So we have data integrated from on-chain credentials, from Icebreaker, and for example, the social rank via Airstack. So you see how old is that account, how many followers does that account have, and then you also see how high is the social rank because maybe it's a bot. And this way you can navigate very quickly and you save time as a professional.
Very cool. But I guess like it's how would a brand reach out to a user? So let's say I'm a stablecoin, like in the example that you mentioned before. I see that this specific Farcaster user is holding a different stablecoin, and I want to target him. How would I do it? Like, how can I convert him?
Really good question. I think there are many ways. So of course there are DM campaigns. I think DM campaigns can be interesting, but I think we have to be careful not to spam people. And I personally also wouldn't build a spammy product. So maybe there's a lot of upside in the short term, but I wouldn't want to integrate like a DM spam function on Herocast so that suddenly everyone can DM the right people, but then I feel the platform is dead and then it's gone. I think what is rather important that any brand should do is identifying them and being a good reply guy or being a good reply gal. That means knowing what they're interested in and make it about them and see if there's any way to connect. So jumping into replies is what I personally feel the best way to show appreciation and interest for someone else's content. And I feel this is how they can actually get them to know, and also present them as a brand, and feel even brand accounts can do that. And I feel there's so much. So one issue that I see that is actually huge in Farcaster is, so Polymarket, of course, they have nailed it. Optimism, they have nailed it. They know how to behave as a social brand on Farcaster. But there's so many others that basically copy pasting like a corporate account from X to Farcaster, and that is completely not the vibe.
Yeah.
So they come in like, ooh, here's an announcement, and no one cares. What they should do instead is see what are they talking about, what are they interested in, and then jump in as a brand. Oh, you're talking about smart accounts. By the way, here's something that what do you think about smart accounts? Here's a blog post we got about that. I feel there's like 95% room to grow for all of the brands out there that are still running these corporate accounts or corporate style accounts, and they just have to jump into replies.
Very cool. Yeah.
I think that's the biggest
Yeah.
biggest leverage there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think something that is very interesting is that, like on Twitter, you obviously cannot link a user to a wallet unless like he explicitly says like this is my wallet, and like even like it would be impossible because you cannot do it at scale. And I wonder like if at some point we'll see like a Farcaster client that allows for ads. Maybe it will be WordPress at some point. I don't know, but it would be super interesting if like brands, like also it would probably worsen the UX significantly, but like if brands could run ads specifically targeting users that show on-chain transactions related to the product, that would be incredibly cool.
I think that would be amazing. I feel there it's all a matter of consent and opt-in. I think this is a great alternative to what we have on Instagram and Facebook. At the same time, I feel it's super important that there is some sort of kickback, kind of like on Brave browser. I'm a big Brave browser user, where the thing is like, if you opt in, you see ads, and then you get something for it. I actually don't get anything for it because I'm also in Germany, and they don't. It somehow doesn't work in Germany. So if you're from Brave and reading this, please make it possible in Germany. And so, yeah, back to your question. I feel this is a huge opportunity. At the same time, I think it's not the right timing yet. Farcaster is too small. I see that there were already a few experiments running in that direction. I think it would be really cool. So if you are on a client, and that would be also something amazing to manage from Herocast, manage these campaigns, and maybe with another solution even. But we're just providing the interface, the cockpit for it, and another solution runs the ad network. And if users who have a certain wallet actually get a kickback for watching something, that would be cool. Just one last thought on getting something for getting rewarded for ads. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I feel once this happens, I don't think it's going to be one-to-one. What I mean is, so far we have ads, we see ads, and then we maybe later buy a product. I don't think that it's going to play out like this, that you just see an ad and you get something for it. I think there's other scenarios that are more likely, which are more like in a personal sales approach, which are more, okay, we targeted you, and if you want to join this webinar, for example, or if you opt in to have this conversation with one of our sales reps and learn more, then you can earn a kickback. I don't think that this like just streaming stuff and earning kickback for it, I don't think it's going to be big. I think it's going to be more of a personal touch to it.
That makes sense. And I would love to like for you to also present your background. Like, what did you used to do before building Herocast? I know you mentioned before a bit about it, but yeah, would love for you to explain your background and just how did you end up building Herocast?
Sure. Yeah, I'm in crypto since 2017. I would say people joined during a bull run. My bull run was in 2017, and Bitcoin 20K, that was a big thing back then. And we built sentiment analysis for cryptocurrencies. So it was also in the social space. So collecting data from Twitter, from Reddit, and Bitcoin Talk, and quantifying this data and selling this data to traders. We sold that technology to a hedge fund, and later on I joined Entrepreneur First, which is like a mini YC in Europe. And there I met Holger. And Holger he's actually the inventor of Herocast. And we partnered up super early on and built Thesis. And Thesis was like a bounty system, but referral system on chain. And then there we learned a lot. We wanted to make a decentralized rewards platform. And from there, that didn't work out. There was too much social friction. Actually, it wasn't the tech problem; it was the social friction for sure. And then we did an acqui-hire to and joined Cent, which was an NFT platform, which was also before a social, like decentralized social platform as well. So we were already quite involved in the decentralized social space. Then Farcaster happened. We were like, this looks very different from a few years ago, because the years before, I mean, there were experiments like Steemit and actually also Cent that experimented with decentralized social. But it developed so much further that it was now way easier to handle, way easier to access also as a user. So we're like, okay, this is really cool. We want to build on top and push that mission forward.
Cool. Great. So we're reaching the end of the episode, but would love for you to just share some alpha, some cool stuff that is coming up on Herocast.
Sure. I think the biggest alpha is that we already have an open source community that is contributing almost on a daily basis. So we have more than 10 contributors on our GitHub. And that's also one of the key reasons why we believe that open source is great to building good products, because we have completely random people all over the place that are contributing. So if you want to contribute as well, that would be absolutely amazing. And also, to put some transparency on it, what we're planning with this is we are thinking of creating a builder token that is only going out to those that are contributing. So we can't promise anything yet about that. Of course, it's a difficult topic. At the same time, our big dream is to 100% decentralize Herocast, because I mean that's the entire vision. That's what it's all about, and making that possible. That's of course only possible if we have enough builders joining. If you're out there and hearing it, check out our GitHub, or especially reach out to Helno, because he's managing all of this.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Biji, for your time. I really appreciate it, and I encourage everyone to try out Herocast and also contribute to it.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you too.